I still remember the exact words my father shouted at me that afternoon. His voice echoed through the living room like a slap I never saw coming. "You weren't important enough to be invited to your sister's wedding, Sarah. Why can't you just accept that?" Those words didn't just hurt me. They shattered something deep inside that I didn't know could break so completely. Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm 31 years old now, but that moment took me right back to being the invisible little sister who spent her whole life trying to earn a place at the family table. I'm the girl who always smiled in photos, even when I felt like an outsider in my own home. For years, I told myself that families are complicated, that love isn't always fair, and that maybe I was the problem. But I was wrong. And today, I'm finally ready to tell you the full story, the betrayal that broke me, and the revenge that quietly put me back together. I grew up in a beautiful house on the edge of the city. From the outside, we looked like the perfect family. My dad was a successful businessman, always in crisp shirts, always talking about legacy and reputation. My mom was soft-spoken and gentle, the peacekeeper who avoided conflict at all costs. And then there was my younger sister, Anna. Beautiful, confident, the golden child who could do no wrong. I was the older one, the responsible one, the one who got good grades without being praised, who helped around the house without being thanked. Anna was the one who got the parties, the new dresses, the proud smiles, and the loud applause. I told myself I was okay with it. I convinced myself that being the quiet, dependable daughter would eventually earn me my father's respect. But something always felt off. There were small moments I pushed aside. The way Dad's eyes would light up when Anna walked into the room. The way family vacations were planned around her schedule. The way my achievements were met with a polite, good job, while Anna's smallest successes became celebrations. I buried the hurt because I loved them. I really did. I was 28 when Anna got engaged to Michael, a charming guy from a well-connected family. The wedding planning took over our entire lives. Every weekend there were dress fittings, venue visits, and menu tastings. I offered to help with everything. I spent hours creating spreadsheets, calling vendors, and even offered to pay for part of the flowers because I wanted to be part of my sister's big day. For a while, it felt like I finally belonged. Anna hugged me and said, "I don't know what I'd do without you, Sarah." Those words meant everything to me. I started dreaming about my own future too. Maybe one day I'd meet someone and have my own wedding, and my family would finally see me. But then the invitations went out. I waited for mine. Days turned into weeks. I kept checking the mailbox, telling myself there must be a delay. One evening, I casually asked my mom about it. She looked uncomfortable and changed the subject. That should have been my first real warning. The confrontation happened on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. I went to my parents' house to drop off some final details for the reception. My dad was in his study, going through the guest list. I saw my name wasn't on it. My heart started racing. When I asked him why, that's when he raised his voice and said those words that still echo in my head. "You weren't important enough to be invited to your sister's wedding, Sarah. Stop making this about you. This is Anna's moment." I stood there frozen, tears burning in my eyes. My mom stayed silent in the kitchen. Anna wasn't even there to defend me. In that moment, I felt smaller than I had ever felt in my entire life. All the years of trying, all the quiet sacrifices, all the love I had given, it meant nothing. I was not important enough. I drove home that night in complete silence. The rain mixed with my tears on the windshield. I didn't scream. I didn't call anyone. I just sat in my apartment with the lights off, feeling completely hollow. The little girl inside me who had spent years trying to be good enough finally gave up. But what I didn't know was that this was only the beginning of the betrayal over the next few weeks. The truth slowly came out, piece by painful piece. I discovered that Anna had been the one who didn't want me there. She told my parents that I made her feel insecure and that my presence would ruin the vibe of her perfect day. My dad, who had always chosen her happiness over everything else, agreed without hesitation. My mom knew and said nothing. They had all decided I was better off not being part of the most important day in my sister's life. I wasn't even invited to the rehearsal dinner. While my entire extended family celebrated, I sat alone in my apartment scrolling through Anna's friends' social media stories showing the beautiful decorations and happy toasts. Every photo felt like another stab. The wedding day itself was the hardest. I drove past the venue by accident that evening. I saw the lights, the flowers, the laughter spilling out into the night. My own sister got married without me. My dad walked her down the aisle like I didn't exist. I cried so hard that night that I couldn't breathe properly. The betrayal cut deeper than any breakup ever could. This wasn't just rejection, this was my own family telling me I didn't matter, that I was disposable. For months afterward, I became a ghost in my own life. I went to work, smiled at colleagues, came home and stared at the wall. Friends asked what was wrong, but I couldn't bring myself to tell them the full story. The shame was too heavy. How do you explain that your own father said you weren't important enough for your sister's wedding? Slowly, the sadness turned into something else, something quieter, something colder. I started noticing how often I had dimmed my own light to make them comfortable. How many times I had celebrated their successes while mine went unnoticed. How I had accepted crumbs of affection for years. And one quiet morning, while watching the sunrise from my balcony, I made a decision. I whispered to myself, I'm done being invisible. If they don't value me, I will become someone they can never ignore again. That was my turning point. The moment the victim in me died and something stronger was born, I didn't scream at them. I didn't cause a scene. My revenge was slower, smarter, and far more powerful. First, I focused completely on myself. I poured all the pain into my career. I was a marketing consultant at the time, but I started working late nights, taking on bigger clients, and building my personal brand. I created an Instagram and YouTube channel where I began sharing anonymous stories about family dynamics and self-worth. Not nomming anyone, just honest reflections. The channel grew faster than I expected. People related to the pain of being the overlooked child. Within a year, I had built a real following. Meanwhile, I also started therapy. I worked on healing the little girl who felt unworthy. I traveled alone. I made new friends who actually saw me. I started dressing better, smiling more genuinely, and carrying myself differently. The transformation wasn't loud, it was deep. My family noticed I was pulling away. At first, they acted like nothing had happened. My mom would call and ask me to come for dinner. I politely declined. Anna sent photos from her honeymoon. I liked them with a simple heart emoji and nothing more. My dad tried to act normal, like his words hadn't destroyed me. Then came the opportunity I had been quietly waiting for. 2 years after the wedding, my company landed a huge contract that required me to speak at a major industry conference. The event was being held at the same luxury resort where Anna had her wedding. The universe has a poetic way of arranging things sometimes. I was one of the keynote speakers. When I saw the guest list, I noticed my dad's company was also attending the same event for networking. I didn't say anything to my family. I simply prepared. The night of my speech, the ballroom was packed. I stood on that stage in a beautiful emerald dress, looking confident and calm. I spoke about resilience, about rising above family rejection, and about the power of choosing yourself when others don't choose you. I didn't name names, but I told my truth in a way that was both graceful and powerful. I could see my father sitting in the third row. His face went pale when he realized the story I was telling was ours. Anna and her husband were there too. They had come for the networking. My mom looked like she wanted the ground to swallow her. When I finished, the applause was thunderous. People came up to me afterward with tears in their eyes, sharing their own stories. I felt seen in a way I had never experienced before. Later that evening, my father approached me in the lobby. His voice was quieter than I had ever heard it. "Sarah, I had no idea you felt that way." I looked at him calmly and said, "You told me I wasn't important enough to be at my sister's wedding. I decided to become important enough for myself, and look where that took me." Anna stood behind him, tears running down her face. She tried to hug me, whispering that she was sorry that she had been jealous and insecure, but I gently stepped back. "I loved you both," I said softly. "I would have done anything for you, but you made your choice. Now I've made mine." I didn't yell. I didn't cry in front of them. I simply walked away with my head high. In the months that followed, things changed. My dad started reaching out more, trying to make amends. Anna sent long messages apologizing, but the power dynamic had shifted completely. I no longer needed their validation. I had found my own worth. Today, I have a successful career, a loving partner who truly sees me, and a community of people who respect me. My family still exists in my life, but on my terms now. They understand that the girl they once dismissed has become a woman who can never be made invisible again. If you're watching this and you've ever felt unimportant in your own family, I want you to hear this. Their inability to see your worth says everything about them and nothing about you. You don't need to scream for revenge. Sometimes the most powerful revenge is simply becoming the person they never believed you could be. Live well, heal deeply, and let your success be the voice that speaks the loudest. Because in the end, the greatest justice isn't destroying them. It's building a beautiful life they can only watch from the outside. Thank you for listening to my story. If it touched you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, you are always important enough.